obviously it's the finals. It gets kind of easy to forget that we got 28 other teams in the league. So I'm going to ask you a little bit of a two-part of a question. What teams are you most interested to see what they do this offseason? And on the back end, for the teams that kind of missed the playoffs, if you had to invest a little bit of a pie, like you got your percentage of the pie, not the Pacers, but what teams would you kind of see taking a jump individually?
Hey, not the Pacers. They ain't make it this year, though.
Well, the Pacers, I think everybody, their stock is not low. I don't think nobody's thinking their stock is low. They just had a little bit of an off year.
Okay.
I think off-season wise, the Wizards still is hearing rumblings about Anthony Davis still like hinting at he does not want to play a single game with the Wizards. Like he wants to move on from this, and I'm curious if they're gonna allow him and Rich Paul and them to get their way out again, or they're gonna force him to show up to camp, have to come play next to Alex Sarr. So there's a world where he probably does end up getting traded again and he never plays a game with the Wizards. Or they say, hey, man, we traded for you for a reason. We want you here, and we want you to be a part of our future. And then we see what happens with that situation.
I think it's such a weird situation to have. I think in the grand scheme of the league, there's a lot of things going on. Anthony Davis kind of won and out. It just seems a little bit of minuscule, like just to get to a new team too. And Anthony Davis doesn't seem like the player that he would hold out. And he's like, I'm not playing these games, or wouldn't give it his all during the games. So if the deal is not good for the Wizards, why would you just keep the man? Like, he's going to help you try to achieve your goal.
If we're looking at the Wizards right now, as currently constructed, we all believe that they're at least competing for a playoff spot, right? Yeah. First overall pick, Trae Young,
theoretically,
and stuff. But like you know, like in the hunt at least, they're not tanking, I guess. If they traded AD for, let's say, draft capital and Jimmy Butler's expiring contract, do you still look at the Wizards as a competitive-ish team this season with no AD?
Nah. I think Anthony Davis got to be there.
A tad.
Yeah, it definitely hinders them a lot. But I still think they would probably be one of those fun, exciting, competing teams down at the 7-8, 10-9 matchups.
I understand Anthony Davis' position, to be honest with you. I mean, the Wizards, in theory, like I said, theoretically, we like to think that they could make a big jump and they could be one of those teams. But, you know, it still sometimes is 2 years away for some of those teams in that position. It's not impossible for them to climb, but I don't think any of us would be surprised if they did miss the playoffs yet again. And I just think at this age and this time in his career, you know, like most guys, he probably just wants to be in a more structured situation to have at least a playoff kind of like, I don't want to say lock, but, you know, that's what he was with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
What do y'all think his value's there right now?
Healthy Mavericks seem to be that
Anthony
way.
Davis, we know what comes with Anthony Davis, but it's not like people are breaking down the door for him right now. If he was able to play at least his first season, and maybe it goes right, maybe it goes wrong, but he has the ability to definitely up his value. It's like, okay, maybe Anthony Davis is still in the mix for one of those guys we could use to try to get a championship.
I think that it is – I don't think it matters because they didn't pay anything to get him in the door, if that makes sense. So, like, if they were going to trade him away and they didn't get a crazy return, I don't think anybody's going to be like, man, they lost that trade. Because what was the trade? Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, and a swap or something?
No, I'm
like,
talking
it wasn't
about
even anything crazy.
Anthony Davis as an individual.
You know, I know exactly what
if
you mean.
he's asking out, people also have to want to trade for you. You know what I'm saying?
I think there will be teams easily calling. Like,
Easily.
I think that, like, that Warriors team will call. I know they said that they probably wouldn't parse ways with Jimmy Butler, but I think that will be something they'd be willing to do for Anthony Davis. And then it opens up opportunity for Bron to go to San Francisco. You know what I mean? Steph Curry, Bron, AD, Draymond.
I'm with KB. I think some of the things that you were alluding to, Mike, is what makes everybody want to call, because what is the price? If the price ain't set like we always know of Anthony Davis, I'm calling. Because if it don't cost me much, why wouldn't I? If I just saw what the Wizards had to trade to get him, yeah, I'm super intrigued. If I'm a Portland or any of these teams that are in a much better spot than the Wizards, because I don't think it's the fact that he got traded. I just think that, you know, the Wizards at this point in his career, I don't think he wants to have to be there hopeful. And then you saying they need Anthony Davis to be that jump?
I think they do.
Right. Anthony Davis is a guy that I think if you're needing him to that degree, it's a tough situation, because we know the history of Anthony Davis. He's a guy that could miss 15, 20 games. I think you're better suited with a Warriors-type team where you have infrastructure, kind of like what we talked about with Paul George, all of these guys. I mean, it's like I think he's a little bit more safer than Paul George. But at this point, these guys aren't who you should be shouldering the responsibility of your success solely on.
And if you're the Warriors, it's all about fake hope. Because AD just wants to play for a team he thinks can win a championship. And I think if he goes into the Warriors and he has Steph Curry on his side, I think he'd be like, I think we can do it.
Yeah.
Even if the possibility is still real low.
At least he had the comfort of knowing he's going to be on a playoff team. The Wizards, I like what the Wizards are doing. I'm only talking about
Even
them
out East right now, it's not no guarantee that they're
Yeah, it's just not. Because we talking about a strong structure. Then we're talking about you got to rethink about the Pacers. It's a tall hill. It's a tall hill to climb, man. It's a tall hill to climb.
I definitely was excited to see him and that Trae Young connection.
Yeah.
I think that would have been very fun because I mean, Trae Young has made wine out of anything that he's played with. So I honestly think it would have been very fun to see him and Alex Sarr and Trae Young as like a trio playing together on the court.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I mean, it's not a impossibility that still happens, right? We playing in this hypothetical world where he officially requests out here. But if he did, I would be kind of relieved as a neutral fan in the situation. They got so many young, interesting players that, like, somebody obviously is going to have to jump down the totem pole quite a bit for Anthony Davis to get his minutes, Trae Young to get his minutes, first overall pick player to get his minutes. And I think if the guy don't want to be there, then it just opens up more.
Touches too, KB.
Yeah.
He's playing minutes, but he's also a guy that's going to want touches. A big sum of them with a ball-dominant point guard. So it's like if you have all of that, I mean, where does a Trey Johnson really get to grow?
Get ready to be
George,
Duncan Robinson, Trey Johnson.
Yeah,
you know?
like the idea made some sense, and I'm not mad at the Wizards because it didn't cost them anything really.
Yeah.
But getting to this point now, again, I could see Anthony Davis's point of view, and if that was it, to KB's point, I wouldn't just hold him hostage because it didn't cost us nothing, and we also got a lot of other things to worry about than to be pleasing Anthony Davis to that degree.
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.